Ben, Labour, they've come under fire after refusing to hold a public inquiry into historic sexual abuse by grooming gangs in Oldham. Elon Musk, amazingly, attacked the decision as disgraceful. Badenoch, the Conservative leader, hijacked that sort of comments and said a full national inquiry into rape gangs was long overdue. The Labour Party have given a very long statement in which they've set out their reasons. Labour in opposition called for and supported national inquiry into child sex abuse under Professor Alexis Jay, concluded in 2022. The Labour government is now working at pace to implement the recommendations, including introducing a duty to report. And then they've gone into the various different aspects as to what they think about what took place in Oldham, describing child sexual abuse and exploitation are the most horrendous crimes, and so on and so forth. So look, everybody in the political circles, both Labour and Conservatives, wringing their hands at this. There is an argument to say that neither party covers it or showers itself in glory in how they dealt with it.
Absolutely right. I mean, the Conservatives were in office for 14 years. Why didn't they, reveal all of this and deal with it earlier? But I think the heart of the problem here, James, is what you and I have already been discussing. And it's this, that progressive discrimination, which informs us at every level across British society that we must welcome, protect and celebrate foreign cultures and ethnicities and so on, has basically put a protective blanket round what we now know to be Pakistani Muslims who were, perpetrating these gangs and committing these atrocities. And people in the local community, in the social services and the police force, all the people who should have stood up and protected these young girls were reluctant to do it because of progressive discrimination, informing them that they should actually be protecting those that are committing the crime.
Well, I think there's a very distinct line in the sand, if you like, that one has to draw. And I think that we as a society, and perhaps what you're hinting at, is that we as a society have forgotten how to do that, which is, I think you can happily celebrate a range of different cultures, backgrounds, religions, whatever it may be, in an inclusive or a sensible way. However, if there is a problem within a particular part of society, in the same way that when it comes to dealing with knife crime, if it is young black youths who are carrying knives and they are disproportionately stopped in the street as part of stop and search because old grannies of any kind of colour or persuasion are unlikely to be carrying knives, then that is what you have to do. If, for example, you have a gang situation in which it would appear as if it is Pakistani men of a certain age, then you shouldn't be afraid as a law enforcement organisation to go and deal with that particular thing without fear, I think...
Without fear or favour.
Absolutely.
Favour. Absolutely. And this protective blanket, this regulatory legislative protective blanket of progressive discrimination that has been culturally embedded in this country is setting aside not just our criminal justice system, but society as a whole, because it's making it impossible for us to treat people equally. It is, in fact, reverse racism. And it is reverse racism. It's that cloak of protection that gave these people the ability to continue to do what they were doing without being held to account.
But also, and worse, is that for anybody in the Pakistani community who is not part of any of this, it is horrendous to be implicated in this way, or for a part of your society to be implicated in this way. And it makes your life far more difficult. We should be protecting those who are law-abiding citizens. I don't care where you come from, your age, your orientation or anything else. If you are law-abiding, you should be protected and not targeted. But if, for example, through this inability to act because you are concerned about being seen as racist as an organisation for targeting a particular group of people because they might be involved in something, I think it undermines the whole of society.
It does, absolutely. And I just want to pick up on a point that you made, but tangentially, perhaps not intentionally, is that, you talked about Pakistani society within our society. This is where we've gone wrong. There should be no Pakistani society in British society. And we touched on this when I was talking about dual nationality. If you're in the United Kingdom, if you have a British passport, you buy into our system, you buy into our values, our culture, our fantastic liberal approach to life, and you accept what it means to be British.
So does that mean then? Does that mean? Okay, fine. Hang on a second. I need to ask you. So if that is the case, does that mean that, for example, anybody of, say, black Afro-Caribbean background, does that mean that people cannot or should not be referred to it? I mean, for example, should we be even naming tube lines the Windrush line?
No, I don't think we should. I think everyone should be treated equally. If you're a British citizen, you should buy into being British and forget about I'm half Pakistani and half English. My mother was born in Isleworth. My father was born in Punjab. I am British through and through. I don't see myself as Pakistani. I'm proud of my father. I'm proud of Pakistan. I've got lots of Pakistani friends. I love lots of things about Pakistani culture. I love the food. Pakistani food is fantastic. But I am British, and that's how I see myself. I'm proud of our history. It is our history into which I buy. It is our sports teams that I support when we're playing cricket or football or whatever. And you've got to buy into the nation state of which you are part.
But does that mean that every citizen has to, I don't know, have some kind of citizens test to see whether you support Britain enough?
I think we need a positive program for integration. We've had far too much immigration to assume that people are just going to integrate, particularly given we've got a legislative regulatory framework that encourages people not to integrate. We've got to have a positive
But what does integration look like? Does it mean that we can teach people to speak properly?
Well, I tell you what is interesting about integration, and I'm going to digress slightly, but I think it is interesting. We used to think of ourselves as English, Welsh, Scottish, and Northern Irish. And because we've taken on so many people from the rest of the world, I think now integration means about identifying as being British, not English, Scottish, Welsh, or Northern Irish. We now need to really reinforce what it means to be British.
Let's see whether anybody's from Scotland or Wales or Northern Ireland calls in to have a go at that. Now, meanwhile, let me throw another story at you. Sadiq Khan has said his children think that he's sold out by accepting his knighthood. What do you think of Sadiq Khan?
I think the chivalric system, the honour system, has capitulated to Sadiq Khan. It's not the other way around. Sadiq Khan hasn't changed in any way his belief system. His children can rest assured that he is still prejudiced to the core and loves identity politics and really has nothing to offer this country other than division through his identity politics.
I mean, I'm sort of fascinated by the whole Sadiq Khan thing, and also by those who say that if you're attacking Sadiq Khan for receiving a knighthood, then you're in some shape or form racist. I was very happy to criticise Sadiq Khan's appointment as being, to be knighted on the basis that I think to be rewarded for just doing your job in an average manner is not acceptable. I don't care just because you've been elected 3 times. That's more because
I agree with you.
The Conservatives put up such useless candidates. But also, if one's having a look at his record and what he's done to this city and the destruction.
It's awful.
It is appalling, and you're rewarding failure. But also, in the same way, I have as many bad words to be said about, for example, the likes of Gavin Williamson. Yeah,
I mean, there are lots of politicians who've been knighted who perhaps shouldn't have been knighted, and our whole chivalric system needs to be reviewed. A lot of people talk about the need for reform. I think we need to talk more about the need for restoration, to go back to the fundamental principles of where these institutions, these honours, where they came from. What do they mean? And for me, the chivalric code, being honoured by your country, is going beyond the call of duty, proving yourself beyond that which is average, and I think being exceptional.
Exactly. And it means that either you've done something extraordinary in the field in which you operate, or indeed you have done something exceptional by using your skills, your talents, your knowledge, your expertise in an extra field, where you've gone over and above. Meanwhile, I'll come back to you, Ben, in a second. However, let's go to Anthony in Essex. Anthony, what are your biggest concerns as we head into 2025?
Oh, how long have you got, James?
About a minute and a half.
Okay, I'll get going then. Islamophobia. Islamophobia is something which I believe is to be outlawed, or certainly there's a program against it. Yet we had Magdeburg, we've just had New Orleans, we had Nice, we had London Bridge. There are very many mad and very angry Muslims that are killing people. And yet we are told we cannot be Islamophobic. Now, spiders kill people. arachnophobia, is that going to be outlawed as well?
Well, I don't think you can equate the two, but what I would say is that there is a difference between radicalised Islam, which of course is something that I think we can all happily rail against, and those who are of Muslim or that sort of that faith or back, and that's what we have to differentiate against, in the sense that.
Where is the Muslim Council of Great Britain coming out and condemning these acts?
I think they do, but I'm not sure they do it as effectively as they can or should do.
You think they do? Well, I haven't seen them. I haven't heard them.
Well, I haven't seen or heard them either, but also...
Well, there you go. Well, why not?
But I think we've got a bigger problem, in the sense that I still think that there are organisations up and down the country who are preaching hate and various other things, and they're not being investigated.
So why are these useless politicians that pervade over us not doing anything about it?
Well, because they're useless. I think you said it yourself, Anthony. I mean, my biggest concern is that we have the biggest and most useless bunch of politicians in power and in positions, and they are ill-equipped for the job that they're doing.
100%. I love Ben Habib. Ben, you must get back to reform. I know you've had your issues.
Oh, well, let's bring him on. Ben, listen, you've got Anthony in Essex who's telling you to get back to reform. Stop being a prima donna and get back to the grindstone.
No. I understand Ben's problem, but Ben is a very articulate and intelligent, a great orator. But we need people like him in charge. I am in a very small way involved with reform in Thurrock, but guys like Ben are just way above my league.
I'm not way above your league, Anthony. I wouldn't ever go in that direction. But thank you very much, Anthony, for your kind words. What I really want, and what you want, and I'm sure James wants, is the best for this country. And that's what we need. We need to pull together, make sure that we re-establish the nation state that is the United Kingdom, that we're sovereign, democratic, and prosperous. That's what we need. And we need to keep that at the focus of all our policy making. If we can do that, make every decision based on the prosperity and integrity of this country, we will succeed. And that's what I hope reform will do.
Well, there we go. Anthony in Essex, thank you very much indeed for your call. Good to chat. And Ben, we're pretty much out of time. Just finally to you, as we look towards this year, I mean, I think Rod Liddle was writing in the Sun today saying, things are actually going to get better. I don't know. I feel quite depressed about the current state of politics, both nationally and internationally. Just in a few words, perhaps, tell me, I don't know, 2025? Is it a year filling you with hope?
2025 is going to be a year in which the United Kingdom and Western civilization is really seriously tested. And it's going to be tested in a positive way, in my view, by the Trump administration, which is going to force us all in Europe and the United Kingdom to revise our approach to governance, revise the 27 years of large state, open borders, high taxation, big spending, revise all of that, high regulation, net zero, all of that is going to come under the microscope. And I hope that the Trump agenda prevails. I hope Trump does what he says he's going to do in the United States. Well, and I hope that we recognize in Europe that we have to do the same. When I say Europe, I mean the broader sense. Yeah.
Ben Habib, political commentator, thank you very much indeed for joining us here on Talk. It's much appreciated.